Welcome to Undercomplicating Stuff, where we, two psychologists and coaches with over 40 years of combined experience, share our insights to help undercomplicate important topics. Friendly reminder that this video is meant for conversational and entertainment purposes only. Please see the information section of this video for additional resources. So I'll do a quick introduction. I'm Julie Radico. I am a psychologist, a coach, an author, and a speaker. Dr. Gedeon, introduce yourself.
I'm Stacey Gedeon. I'm a health psychologist and the CEO and founder of a healthcare consulting and professional coaching business.
What is confirmation bias?
I love this question about confirmation bias because it is everywhere and it's very sneaky and subtle. And one way to think about it is if you've ever noticed when you're maybe researching a topic or have an opinion about something, how you tend to seek out the evidence and find it very easily for the information that supports your view or your opinion on something. And this is something where we interpret information that supports what we already believe. And we don't challenge that. We don't seek outside sources, other opinions. And so we get a really narrow focus and dismiss other things that might say our way of thinking may be different or could be improved upon.
This is what humans do. So as you're talking about confirmation bias, I'm mindful that there's a whole bunch of like negative, unhelpful biases and heuristics and traps. Like, if y'all listening, like if you want to read up on all the traps that we fall into, there's a ton of these because as human beings, we need to make really quick decisions sometimes. And some of that is like, is what's the safest thing I could do right now? And
Mhm.
some of it is like, oh, I have 2 seconds to make a decision about whether or not I feel safe like approaching this person, or this is going to be good for me to approach this person or do this thing, or like how do I feel about what's happening right now? Am I okay with this? Am I not? Like we have to process a lot of information very quickly. And so our brains try to help us in coming up with shortcuts. So I think a good example of confirmation bias, and we'll go with like a fun extreme here, is think about somebody riding a motorcycle, like a tough looking person with a leather jacket, and they are somebody that you might have a bias about right away. That snap negative judgment you make might make it hard for you then to let in information when you see that person donating toys to a local children's hospital or going and putting wreaths on veteran gravestones, because I like there's a lot of good stuff that people do because people are pretty nuanced. But if we make these snap judgments or ignore the information that doesn't confirm our bias, then we're gonna miss out on all those things.
Client I worked with and would struggle with their supervisor who had a habit of collecting information from other people about this client and sort of storing them away. I almost picture like a little chipmunk, like storing nuts and or squirrel, and would have their ears open for anything that was negative about this person. And to your point, when something positive came up or that person did something that was really quite remarkable, that was dismissed. And so the supervisor just had a negative opinion, felt threatened, it turned out, we learned, by this client. And so only sort of almost had glasses, if you will, that only let in the negative into their brain. And anything that contradicted that, they ignored. And so for this client, it was really challenging because about once a year, their supervisor would call them into a meeting with a whole list of things and accusations, and other people's opinions were taken for gospel and not challenged. And so then this client had to constantly defend themselves. And it was exhausting, and it's hard to do good work when you constantly defend yourself. So this is something that is, again, prevalent everywhere in our social interactions when we're working, even taking something like politics. How often do you pay attention to the other sides, whatever that may be, their news feeds, their social media, anything related to the side that you don't think the same things about or have the same views of? How often do you expose yourself to that? Most of the time, it's not very often because, as you pointed out earlier, it's really uncomfortable to have that cognitive dissonance of, well, wait a minute, I thought they were like this, and now I'm hearing they're like that. So that is another one that comes up quite often.
I'm mindful as we talk about politics, we get into our echo chambers. So confirmation bias is we fall into this trap when we are in an echo chamber. And whether that's because we feel most comfortable there, we don't realize we're stuck in an echo chamber, or whenever we're getting information that we like hear somebody start to say something, we're like, oh, I don't know, I got, and you retreat back to your corner. Like there's all these ways that we feel comfort in information that we resonate with, we know. And it's hard sometimes to accept new information if it feels ambivalent is sort of a jargony word for it. But if you don't know what to do with it, if you're like, wow, if I take this new information in and don't stay in my echo chamber, and then I have to like sit with that gray, like it's not black or white, it doesn't fit right into my beliefs, whatever they may be. And y'all, we all have beliefs, we all do this. Sitting in that gray is really uncomfortable because we don't know what to do with that information. So as coaches, as psychologists, like you and I, we spend a lot of time knowing that we're not always going to get all the information that would make us feel comfortable from a client. We're going to try our best to meet them where they're at and make sure they're safe. And then there's sometimes gray where we're not sure what the diagnosis is yet if it's in therapy, or we're not sure which treatments they're going to respond best to. And so we're sitting in that gray to like help walk with them and share with them what's some good strategies. But we have to sit with the discomfort of, wow, they didn't respond to this evidence-based treatment that I thought was going to help them. Like, oh, well, now I got to sit with that and not take it as an attack on me, not take it as an attack on like all of my beliefs about that this is helpful, but also not try to force them into this box of what's not helping them, right? Being able to pivot and sit with the gray of, okay, this wasn't it for them. What can we do differently? But if I have this bias that no, they need to check all these boxes and this is what's going to work for them, and I'm not able to be flexible in that, I'm too rigid in my thinking, then that's going to probably destroy that therapeutic relationship, but also just leave me in my echo chamber of, yes, this is the only treatment that could work. And I'm going to sit and cling on to that and never really like be able to help lots of people who come in with lots of nuanced experiences.
That makes me think of the importance, and we've talked about this before, of staying curious. So with your example of a client not responding in a way that one would have expected to a treatment that should be effective, being curious about that versus, nope, this is what I believe, and there must be something wrong with them, or some other reason as to why one would remain rigid versus, well, this is interesting. I wonder what's behind that. And being curious really is helpful with managing a confirmation bias. So we can even start by noticing when we hear something that is contrary to what we believe or think about something or someone, we can take a pause and ask ourselves, okay, well, what is it about that that kind of hits me the wrong way? And is there any truth to what that person or that situation is saying that's different than what I believe? And even again, seeking out from other people or being around other people that have differing viewpoints can add to your life tremendously versus constantly being surrounded with people that think exactly the same way. Um, Again, we crave comfort. That's more comfortable when we're around people that are like us and it requires less effort and things like that. But really encouraging people to challenge themselves and be open to new ideas and more aware of where they may have blind spots.
We can miss out on really cool things, really cool people, expanding and broadening our knowledge and the way we view the world. Being open to new information is such a gift that we can give ourselves because we miss out on so much if we just cling to our beliefs about, no, this, I know this to be perfectly true and right, and this is the only way that fill in the blank could work or be like giving ourselves the privilege of being curious, just like you're saying, is such a gift because you don't have to have all the answers. We, as human beings, we will never have all the answers. And so don't burden yourself with that. And it's hard as a human being not to want the comfort of, oh, I know the right answers. I know how to, know that this is right and this is wrong. And like, there's a lot of gray that we live in. It's just the nature of being human. So being kind to ourselves in that and being curious that if I say I hold a blue, Stacey, you're gonna come. I love chocolate ice cream, and you're gonna come to me and you're gonna tell me that chocolate ice cream is the worst thing that's ever happened to the planet, and it's the worst thing that I could ever be eating. And if I am sticking in my confirmation bias, I'm going to be like, well, Stacey's totally wrong. She's ignoring all the good things about it, and she's not hearing any of, what really matters in the chocolate ice cream world. And I just got to go back to my chocolate ice cream people, and they're going to reinforce me, and they're going to tell me that I'm right and it's okay. I'm just going to go make myself an ice cream cone, and it's going to be fine. Like, and if I'm not open at all to this idea that maybe not all chocolate ice cream is equal, because there's lots of different brands, there's lots of different kinds, there's lots of different like consistencies. You could have soft serve, you could have like hard. I really love ice cream, y'all. So if I'm not open to that, then I might end up suffering because maybe what Stacey was trying to tell me was, oh, hey, there's this actual like chocolate ice cream that is healthier for you and more delicious somehow. And then if I closed myself off to hearing that, I'm gonna miss out on being able to broaden my perspective or to change some of what I'm doing to be healthier. So being really mindful in a silly example, um, that if we're not open to hearing just what other people are thinking, their perspectives, and then you can still make sense of it for yourself. If you want to say, like, no, I've really been thoughtful and open to what this person is saying, and I've given them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm trying to find if there's gray here. And then you're like, nope, I can't. Then saying, maybe instead of, well, I'm never going to consider like anything they ever have to say, maybe saying like, this doesn't, I've been really thoughtful and this doesn't fit right now because of these evidence-based reasons I have, then being still open to revisiting in the future or not writing off everything that Stacey has to say just because she came for my chocolate ice cream.
And I'm thinking if people were to try to be more aware of this, certainly spending time with people that think differently. So for you in this instance, it would be vanilla ice cream people or butter pecan or something outside of chocolate. And maybe starting with low risk situations or beliefs. So we all know that if you kind of jump into politics, that can be a pretty heated thing. If in Julie's example, you decide to try some vanilla, that is not a very high risk thing to try. So start with something that is a little bit easier to get used to and being comfortable and less likely to create some big monster of an issue when you're learning different ways of viewing and perceiving things.
My takeaway for our time together is just notice that you are human and you're going to fall into these traps. If anybody listening says, I am completely unbiased, I think neutrally in every situation I walk into and make up my mind freshly anew every single time, please reach out to us because you have cracked the code that no one else seems to have. It's almost impossible. But as you see there, I'm not going to bias myself. I'll leave the curiosity open that if somebody has cracked this code, great. Y'all, be nice to yourselves around the fact that you likely have not cracked the code to not fall into confirmation bias. Again, it falls into like our mental shortcuts that help us be able to function and all the information that's coming at us and all the ways that you have to navigate the world. It is a busy, busy world. And so our brains go, oh, okay, piece of information. Oh, that fits into my beliefs this way. Great. Piece of information. Oh, that doesn't fit into my beliefs. Oh, I'm going to drop it. And what we're saying here is maybe hold it for another moment to go, wait, even if this doesn't fit into my beliefs right now, can I take a moment to consider why it's not plugging right in? And maybe there's something in there that is worth considering.
My takeaway is more of a mini action step. Try to think of something you can do in the next week that will challenge your thinking in a way that will allow you to grow. Start with something small, again, not a big risk situation, but really challenge yourself to pick at least one thing and see what it feels like and see how it might broaden your perspective. And as you said, it may end up not changing your viewpoint on something, but you'll definitely grow by having considered someone else's viewpoint on the same thing.
It's a beautiful like request because it helps us help ourselves.
Yeah.
The world is a scary place sometimes and we can feel very overwhelmed. So giving yourself the kindness to be curious and to purposely, so it doesn't feel like it's attacking you, it's something you get to choose to do and you get to choose how you want to do that and feel comfortable doing so. Like that's a beautiful ask. So if this topic resonated with you, please share it with somebody that you care about. Also, please comment, like, subscribe. You can message us on our LinkedIn or YouTube channel to give us suggestions of questions you'd like us to discuss in the future.